What is up, ladies and gents? That is the back of my head. That's not me right now. What is happening on that camera angle? Well, you're going to see me appear here in just a second, though I'm sorry to take away the lovely shot of the back of my head that was there from maybe a minute and a half ago. But nonetheless, welcome to an episode of the Grappling Hour and Inside BJJ presents the Bullpen. We hope you're having a great day. Happy Valentine's Day to you and to your family, to your loved ones, to your friends, to your family, whatever it may be, and to our spouses, whom I'm sure several of you, if you had the chance, would run away from to go train, which is odd. It's very odd. I've seen a lot of promotional notes for people that say, hey, it's Valentine's Day, but you need to drill something else. And I think, guys, don't say that shit. That just gets weird. And I could say this. Some of you out there have even claimed that that is what you do on your Valentine's Day. And if you have a partner that trains, you're even luckier. But nonetheless, we come to the crew here of three, band of misfits. I'll go first to one. Tim Freeman. Tim, how are you doing on this Valentine's Day, sir?
I'm doing great. Happy Valentine's. Wishes to the Bullpen crew. On behalf of already sweating. That's right, baby. I woke up today. It's Valentine's Day. I was in a sweat. I'm like, let's go. Happy Valentine's Day to everybody. Can't wait to talk some great jiu-jitsu today. A lot of cool stuff going on. We're glad to have Kevin back. And it's a very passionate day today. So let's get heated, gentlemen. Let's go.
All right. Thank you for that. Kevin, we now turn to you. Welcome back to the broadcast. The people were wondering where you were last week. So where were you, sir?
Yeah, man. Learning neurosurgery ecologically. I've heard that is the best and fastest way to become qualified at anything. And I've dedicated my life to neurosurgery. Hard to find volunteers. Not going to lie. Hard to find volunteers. I'm expecting a boom after Valentine's Day, but, we'll see.
You could just sign up some white belts for. They don't get a chance to choice and all.
I'll get you listen, bro. You want a stripe?
I will say Kevin has the most ridiculous version of giving out stripes that I've seen, and as a upper belt here, I do feel that when I hear him have his promotion standards, one might say, I think to myself, those are very good. But do you have demotion standards as well, Kevin?
Yeah, cross me. The closest I've come to taking a stripe away, I had one of my recent blue belts, who's got one stripe on his belt, just got it, was basically, he got mounted by Chris Wojcik at Chris's seminar, and Chris is putting him in mother's milk, and I started saying, there's a minute left on the clock, and I go, Dom, if you tap, do not tap. Do not do that. Do not tap to this. If you tap, I'm taking the stripe. I swear to God, I'm taking the stripe right off your belt. I will dig it out of your gym bag. It's gone. That's the closest I've come. I've also yelled at someone before for they had a locked-in rear naked choke, and I could tell they were doing that thing where they're kind of thinking about letting it go, their arms are gassing out. And I told her, I was like, hey, if you let go of that, I'm taking. You keep that locked in. So, I yell at people and make David.
Who's gonna carry?
Yeah, listen. If you're not carrying the boats, you don't get stripes. That's the law.
I always think to myself, I'm like, every time I want to utter out who's gonna carry the boats, I always look at the people I'm saying it to, and I go, well, clearly not any of you. And,
yeah, we're not boat carriers.
I know people's skills, and I'd like to think I'm a pretty decent manager of these things, but I do know that for sure is not a skill that most jiu-jitsu people have. Hey, speaking of stuff, I had mentioned on the show last week that I had to do some coaching on the Super Bowl. Not my best work in terms of planning, especially when the kids are like, see you Sunday, coach. And I go, no, it's Saturday. Sunday, coach. And I was like, no, it's Super Bowl on Sunday. Everybody. Oh, no. Oh, no. This sounds terrible. He has to be right. They would. Because the first thing you think of is, jiu-jitsu would never do this to me. And then you realize very quickly, oh, for sure it would. And I had a moment where I was just trying to be a good coach, and I tried explaining this to people, but I was like, hey, listen, the real answer here is somewhere in between. I feel like I was a good coach, but I want to show you guys a video of what exactly I was going through. And you guys can kind of see. This is, like, listen, I knew the game was going to be what it was, but I was very excited for the halftime show. You may have seen from my social media at some point. But this is just a clip of what I like to call a coach. I see that this is not playing now, but you might hear it. So unfortunately, I will have to put that to a pause. Give me 1 second here, people. So what you're going to see here in this clip is you're going to see a stressed out coach. And I want you to, like, just take a minute here and use your imagination, because this is me watching, as one does, a halftime show. Checking in, student one, already checked in, looking good. Now I want you to get the fear in my heart when we slow this down and see the following look. Now, gentlemen, I'm going to ask both of you as coaches. When you see your student making this look, what is the first thing that comes to mind? Kevin, I'll start with you.
I hope nobody knows he trains with me. No, I'm playing.
Tim, what's the first thing in your head?
I mean, that's not the first thing that came to my mind, but now it should be. I'm thinking this guy looks like he needs to go use the bathroom in that last emergency evacuation that your body does before you go to the mat.
So all I'm thinking of here is I went from, oh, I'm enjoying this halftime, to things are going well, to, he's going to do fine, but, oh, shit. So what was the issue here? The young gentleman by the name of Gabe, we have a coach named Gabe, so we call him Kid Gabe. Kid Gabe, trying to get my attention, doing this. I run over to him because he's got to compete in like 10 minutes. And I go, what's the issue? And he goes, coach, these shorts, they say I can't use them. And this is when he had also revealed to me earlier the other pair of shorts, because I gave him those shorts. I gave him that he did not bring those either. And I said, this is my nightmare. So as a meticulous planner, I run to my car and I go, don't worry, I've got extra shorts and I'm pretty sure they'll work. How much time do we have? So we run to my car, we get him different pairs of shorts. He's looking at me like, what happened? And I'm trying to figure out why they said he couldn't compete in them. Would you like to know why he couldn't compete in those shorts?
Yes, I'm dying to know.
The drawstring had a slight piece of metal right here. Just a little thing that holds that together. So that is the reason they are fearing that other people may get injured from that little thing that keeps the string together on the rope.
What tournament was it?
This was Jiu-Jitsu World League.
Okay.
Also,
JJWL. That's a very IBJJF move.
It was,
yeah,
and it was me telling the children, under no circumstances will you buy shorts. We have plenty of shorts. Remind me to tell you a story off air, Kevin, because there was another slight Jiu-Jitsu World League thing that I did ask for a certain friend of ours who might be a lawyer to direct me in the certain direction on if that is acceptable or not. But nonetheless, everybody, enough chit chat. Let's get to the board. I'm very excited for this week, and as you should be too. But gentlemen, we start off with perhaps the biggest news of the week, which is that John Danaher was announcing that he may have to step back as a coach. He's going in for another surgery, and the surgeries in the past have kind of rendered him unable to coach in the way that he feels he is best utilized in. However, he teased the fact that he would be coaching recreationally, which begs the question, for a man who shows up in a rash guard everywhere he goes, what does coaching jiu-jitsu recreationally look like? I will start with you, Tim Freeman.
I have not heard of a rec jiu-jitsu coach. Is that where you go down to like the local YMCA and you coach a bunch of folks that are just there on a Saturday morning? You know, obviously Danaher's had a lot of health issues when it comes to his body. He's had a lot of surgeries already. He's kind of already alluded that something like this was coming. I don't foresee him pulling back too much, to be honest. He's probably just saying, you might not see me for a few months. I think he's going to get right back into it. I know he's, super smart and reads all this stuff, but outside of jiu-jitsu, like, does this dude do anything else? Like, I think this is pretty much his 100% commitment. It's what he does. It's what he thinks about when he goes to bed. It's what he thinks about when he wakes up in the morning. I just don't see any way they're going to, he's going to pull off and not have that part of his life. I think he'll be back sooner rather than later.
I'd like to point this out in the chat. We have somebody saying BJJ Ocean. They say Danaher coaching at Grappling Industries. So don't worry, he'll be running into me very soon, I'm sure, at this point and juncture. Kevin, what say you about this?
I think we're going to start seeing Danaher in the corner of our fight videos at the end of this show. When we start doing street beef breakdowns, the only thing that remains to be seen is whether he's hats or glasses. And we're going to start seeing him in the corner of these and going to town. I don't know where my brain went to the same spot Tim did, by the way, is like, and like, as you alluded to, Raf, like, he wears a rash guard everywhere he goes. How does that guy take a step back? Right? Like, you have to reinvent your whole identity. If you're wearing rash guards in public, like, that's kind of, I think you're deeper in than the guy with a jiu-jitsu tattoo, right? Like, you have to be. Like, I don't know how you go from all I've ever done is be this jiu-jitsu guy to stepping outside of it. But, best of luck to you. I can't wait to see how well the glasses do now that you're in their corner.
So I'll pose this question to the panel here, which is, does he go into surgery in a rash guard? Because they may ask him very specifically, sir, you have to wear this gown. And he goes, no, I've brought my own attire. And they go, no, sir, that's not how this works. Because you think to yourself, the shaming of public venues when you say you need to be business casual at work, not adhered to, and that story is well documented. But now we're talking going to a hospital where there are legitimate protocols. I ask both of you.
I think he's going to show up in a rash gown. He'll have something kind of sorted out, little looser, a little longer, snaps through the crotch area. It's like breakaway. It's like a breakaway singlet, more or less. I could see him rolling into that.
Yeah, you know what? That's good enough. There's a reason to go on after that. We'll start here also with a note from Wallow J that says, hello, fellas. I am shocked to see Kevin back. Kevin, any response?
I like to keep him guessing, man. I like to keep him guessing.
It would be better if you kept the audience guessing and not the executive producer of the show guessing. Because, see, the weird part that happens there is...
You don't break kayfabe. You know that, Raf.
Oh, for sure.
I'm a method actor.
Yup. Super good for my mental health. I just know that if I know ahead of time, I can come up with a good joke. But half the time when the people ask me and I'm live on air, and depending on my mood, it might just come out as, he didn't show up. I don't know where he is. Or it might show up as that's a great question. Let us put it out to the ages. Where is Kevin? Philosophically, I don't know.
Oh, hell yeah. Where's Kevin? Sounds like a fantastic game.
No,
that's a party game. It's
Carmen
Where's
San
Walt?
Diego. You do not get that credit, sir. There is no
Carmen San Diego has a bigger budget than me. This is just Where's Waldo. I'm just at like a county fair in the crowd. I'm not in Italy. Just he's at Publix, but he's like kind of obscured behind an aisle.
The reason I say
all over the world,
the fact that I'm like thinking to myself that Kevin would call himself a Carmen San Diego, and knowing that that is not true, is that she requires far too much planning to get away with what she's gotten away with. This woman has stolen continents, and Kevin literally is like, I just forgot to set my alarm. It's not the same caliber of criminal.
I would love to have the gravitas and prestige that Carmen San Diego has, but I'm sitting at my coffee table with my cat scratching me while I focus on the podcast. I don't think I'm in her league.
Not yet.
If you keep seeing me do this, it's because my cat literally will sink his claws in me if I don't pet him. He has me hostage.
Listen, if I know I can work in cahoots with the cat, I think we're actually off to a very good set here. Hey, speaking of this, look at this. This is interesting. And I didn't know this, so this is breaking news to me. Tim, you put it on the board, and it says that Downey is injured, and he's quitting IBJJF. I need some context here, sir. I turn to you for this news-breaking item.
Yeah, so Jiu-Jitsu Paparazzi BJJ Eastern Europe snapped a picture of Pat Downey walking with a cane. It looks to me like he's walking on some train tracks by a warehouse or something. I'm not sure what he was doing. But apparently the story is that he entered a local jiu-jitsu tournament. I'm not sure what the promotion was, but he entered into the black belt division and ended up in some kind of leg entanglement. The article says heel hook, but when you read through the comments, some folks were saying like, no, it was a knee bar, and they got really upset that the move was misidentified. So, Downey kind of took it like a champ, to be honest. He just kind of shrugs it off and goes, I got a lot to learn about grappling. On the other side of it, he said he's never doing IBJJF tournaments again, that the refs are biased and he's tired of dealing with it. And I'm like, man, that was a fast love affair with the IBJJF. That was in and out. So I think you're going down the right route, Pat Downey. Bummer you got hurt, but the sooner you probably start focusing on the no-gi world, the closer you're going to get to where you're trying to go. So,
well, first things first, Tim, you just have to refer to it as the Gulf of Knee Bar, and I think we're good. And second, if I'm thinking about this appropriately, how many organizations is Pat Downey going to run out of? Because I'm starting to go on one hand, and I go, we've only got so many. And he goes, I'm done with IBJJF. Okay. Well, I don't know. Did he quit ADCC as well? I thought he quit something else.
He talked shit about CJI right after he lost. So, yeah. Bellator is not around anymore, so I feel like that kind of counts.
I hope he is doing well. Organizations to compete for, or you're gonna have to go across the pond consistently. And I don't know how many times Polaris is gonna put him on, but Godspeed, maybe more than I know. We'll see. Kevin, do you have any insight from this? Because it sounds like he's rage quitting a lot. Does this go well for him, or do you think there is a better approach for Pat Downey?
Probably a better approach, but I hate to say it, but like whatever, right? Like jiu-jitsu is going to forgive him forever. He could be in the IBJJF tomorrow and maybe not the IBJJF. They tend to hold weird grudges about stuff. Like, isn't Eddie still like not recognized as a black belt? And so maybe not the IBJJF, but like if he wanted to go to ADCC, he's an exciting grappler. He's entertaining. He draws in viewers. He's going to get to go wherever he wants, right? It's fighting. You can say crazy stuff and still do whatever you want. So rage quit all you like. I do think it's like not that unfamiliar. Like we've all had that moment. Pat Downey's just going through it publicly where we've said, you know what? Fuck this. I'm never doing the IBJJF again. He's just doing it publicly. When I first got into jiu-jitsu, I was wondering why, like in wrestling, every other guy that in your training room has that USA wrestling tattoo somewhere, right? The same one that Weidman and Tony Ferguson and like all these guys, I think Gaethje has one, and like all these dudes have that USA wrestling tattoo, the logo on them. And I saw the IBJJF logo and I was like, that's rad as fuck. Do a bunch of jiu-jitsu guys have that tattooed on them? They don't. Why not? And now I know, right? Like, and Pat Downey knows too. It's because they suck.
Kevin, what if the optimistic version of you ended up getting that tattoo? Like, how different would your life be right now?
I have some really dumb tattoos, so not that different. I would be $30 broker. I don't know. I would have a tattoo instead of one day of Chipotle.
Be right next to the Naga Fighter tattoo.
The note here from BJJ Ocean says, we don't want anything to do with Pat until he can learn how to pass guard. Them's fighting words, sir. And for that, I have to tell you, I think there are a lot of us who might have to learn how to own in that one.
Yeah, that's a very...
I don't know that we can really throw that one. But I can tell you, I'd like to say he's welcome anywhere he wants to go. I just hope that he finds a home that's appropriate for him. I think he's in the middle of his dating phase where he's seeing what he likes and what he's into, but I don't know that he really has found one that he likes yet.
Yeah,
So-
I could see that. I think you hit that spot on.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, Egghead has joined us. He says, Danaher for audiobook performer / actor. Now, why is
White
it
noise
that the
machine.
person that sounds the most like a chatbot in the middle of our comment section is asking for the most chatbot-like human to narrate audio? I ask you this because I don't have the answer for it. But Egg, this tells me your reading preferences, if anything, when you're listening to audiobooks.
Bro, Egg heard Danaher's instructionals, the audio off him, and he went, whoa, 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 slow this guy down. This is too much passion.
He just buys the audio version of the instructionals. He listens to them.
No. You guys are both wrong. Tim, you're close, but he doesn't listen for the instruction. He listens for the stories telling you about the instruction that take up 30 minutes before you learn what an armbar is. It'd be
Birds
crazy
of a
if-
metaphorical feather.
It would be crazy if somebody was like, I actually just buy the Danaher DVDs to listen to the sirens in the background.
Yeah, all the side stuff. I actually
All of
buy
you
them.
OGs, you know that one. Go ahead.
I buy them to see who's the uke that he always uses. What's that kid's name? I just
I
watch
know
him
who
to
you
see-
refer to. I unfortunately do not know his name. And I
Can't
feel
remember
like
his
it's
name
somebody
off the
who
top of
is
my head.
over the years has become notable. But like for
Yes.
years, I thought it was almost like Giancarlo was okay for a while on those. But I think that is
Starts with a P. It's Placido.
Placido.
wrong.
I just
yeah.
tuned in to see Placido just get smashed by Danaher. There's some techniques that Danaher does, and Placido's just getting fucked up while Danaher talks in double slow speed. And how many takes does he do? That's my question. Let's see the outtakes.
BJJ Ocean knew it right away and said Placido. Thank you for BJJ. You tell us the important information, and I love that we described a demographic that would buy just based on that stuff, and somebody just volunteered that information freely. No, that's me. I paid for it. I don't mind. I want to pay more. So we move on to our next topic. Tim, when I looked at this, I read it wrong the first time and it said steaks, and I thought it was going to be something delicious. Instead, it's something else. It is loser takes it to the face. Now, Tim, when I say come up with ways creatively to retain our audience, you put steaks and then loser takes it to the face on Valentine's Day in a Craig Jones world. So I can't even say the word pause because it's written. So I did pause the actual video so that this can stay on the screen. But please justify why I am putting this board and this topic for this 3 minutes and 5 seconds, sir.
Tim,
I'm gonna
you're
do
the
that.
best.
And then this was my job as board editor, not my topic. This was Kevin's topic. I just took Kevin's topic and I enhanced it a little bit for the pro.
Kevin,
That's amazing.
just so we can reveal some information, did you write loser takes it to the face?
No, this one's on that one's on Tim, and I have to give him credit for that. That's amazing. That's perfect.
Okay, Kevin, why don't you give us the context for this wildly out of nowhere turn this show is taking?
Yeah. There's a on main character jujitsu. There's a super fight coming up between Katie Bohenik, who some of y'all may know from Karjitsu, and Katie Lablali, I think is how you say her last name. We've called her LB. She competes a lot, seen her on the scene. So these two have like some personal beef that stems back to someone dating someone's friend. Like Katie Bohenik, I think, is friends with someone that Katie LB dated. It's very wild. That's not the important part. These two hate each other for realsies. And they've challenged each other to a super fight. And they tried to get it done in combat jujitsu and couldn't come to an agreement. So instead, what they've done is a special rules stakes match. So it's just, I believe, just a regular match. But at the end of it, the loser eats 3 power slaps to the face, which is just outstanding. It just, my heart grows 3 sizes, just watching this. It's so funny. I love the idea of like a sub only match, which is frankly, it's like has the least teeth of any combat of any combat sport in the world. Like you can just lay there on the ground and manage to not lose. I love that at the end of this, if you end up doing that and it plays out, because like sub only matches, they never feel definitive, right? Like I've done sub only matches, and like I had a guy one time where he was like in half guard, and he looked down at me and he goes, this is a fight, I'd be fucking you up. And I went, damn, that's crazy. It's almost as if I took that into account. Like I would. So like they never feel definitive because you're not actually doing things that are like establishing dominance or whatever. But if at the end of this we do that, that feels fucking definitive. Yep, I love it.
Okay, let me have a minute as the executive producer of the show. So now that I have this context, Tim, it's stakes, loser takes it to the face, and 2 women on Valentine's Day. That's the missing context that I now have. Am I accurate in this summarization, Tim?
It's a Valentine's Day miracle.
Valentine's Day massacre, dog.
Sometimes when you guys are like, how long could the board possibly take? Why would we have any issues? This is the shit that I edit, and I go through and I go, children, perhaps this isn't the pun we want. And you go, I don't see anything wrong with it. I go, that's the issue. So, Tim, what anything do you have to tack on here? Do you need to defend yourself, or do you have analysis about this matchup?
Well, listen, I think this is a great idea because as that clock winds down, if you're on the wrong side of this, I'm not sure. Does main character use EBI overtime, or is there a decision? Is that how they determine it? But as that time winds down, if you're on the wrong side of this match, you're going to get real motivated because you're going to get jacked 3 times in the face in just a few minutes. And it's bad enough to lose. It's even worse to lose to your enemy. Like, oh, this person, And then it's even worse to have to stand in front of them and take an unadulterated slap to the face. Not once, not twice, but thrice. This is entertainment to the max. Fantastic idea. I want to see more stakes match. This is a brilliant idea. I love it. I had to treat this with the nuance that it deserved.
You also just use the word unadulterated in your description
Correct.
of this. So again, this is maybe sometimes semantics here. It's just, I sit here, I think to myself, I have a mute button. Why don't I use it more? And then I hear these conversations, and I hope you understand in the future, if it looks like you have no voice, you have an immediate understanding as to why.
Wordsmith.
You are definitely something.
You're an artist.
And it said here from Egghead, Wallow J, I almost made that comment as well. So people coming in hot for Kevin already. And it says, birds of a feather. Now, Egghead wanted to defend himself when he asserted, I listen to audiobooks and podcasts at 1.5x speed. No slowdown. So there's no nuance. There's no articulation. He just wants all the greatest hits, as a true robot would. This is the one that I think it gets a little spicy on, and I don't know that Kevin has read this. I know the gentlemen have access to these chat inputs, but this says, Kevin's really opinionated for someone who only shows up 1/3 of the time at best. Kevin, your response.
Correct.
The
Yes,
problem,
absolutely.
the problem, Egg, is I think you feel this is an insult to Kevin, but Kevin is all about showing up the bare minimum, and you will not as much nick him or cause any harm to him psychologically by being like, yeah, you just barely showed up. And Kevin's like, that's precisely what happened. You're right. Facts.
Water is wet. Good job, Egg.
And then he leaves with this, which is family time through here. We'll watch you later. There is nothing quite like the person that tells you, like, I have better things to do. I'll be back later. So as long as you come back later, that's all I care about.
Bro, that just means he can't defend himself while I talk shit for the next 3 minutes. Add it to the board.
Actually, you know what? Do it. I've got 1 minute for you. Air all of your egghead grievances, and I'll change the clock. I have 1 minute for you starting now. Go.
Perfect. Let's go. All right. So let's talk about this Danaher knockoff. He listens to audiobooks at 1.5 speed, but I need to let him know that the tax code is not an audiobook. Part 2, Egg. Like, I show up a third of the time, right? And yet still get time on the mic. Where you at, dog? You typing in the comment section? That's my comment section. You're in my house, buddy. I had something for birds of a feather, but it feels like I'm hitting the ball joke twice.
That's fair. All right. You know what? That was enough time. I feel like you did a service to him. I think the weird part is people know that we create a board to create organization for the show, but we will stop on a dime to literally do anything else if we are so moved by it. Nonetheless, It does look like we have additional breaking news, and let's go to that now. This is a very cool topic, and I like this matchup a lot. It was announced this week that for ONE FC, you got Dante Leon, you got Ty Rotolo, and you've got the entire jiu-jitsu community saying, not bad. That's pretty good there, ONE FC. I think we've been heavy on the greatness that we're seeing from the Fight Pass Invitational, but ONE FC has been putting together some fun matches. I rank this at the top tier of them. I'll start with you, Kevin. Who's winning this match and why?
Well, first of all, before I say this, this is one of the coolest super fights I've seen people put together in a while. Like, we get a lot of like, who's Gordon fighting next or whatever. This is actually a really, really cool matchup, and I appreciate that they put it together. That said, after last year's ADCC performance compared to Ty's CJI performance, Dante Leon showed he's a monster in the legs, and love that monster in the legs. And Ty Rotolo showed susceptibility to that particular approach, right? I think Dante gets a hold of him. It's not like if you're Ty, you can't go in there with the simple game plan of like, oh yeah, let's keep him off. It's like, it's Dante Leon. He could still just wrestle the shit out of you and be a monster on top, right? And at all times, he can enter into your legs and then just go Mach 20. Ty's one of the best in the world. I have to give, like, it would be hard for me to see Ty submitting Dante. It's definitely possible, but I really think like Dante stands a lot stronger of a chance of putting Ty away. If it goes the distance, it might be Ty. He goes at a crazy pace, man. But I still, if I was putting money down, Dante.
Thank you for that. Tim, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think Kevin's onto something. This is the rubber match between these guys. Dante beat Ty in a decision back in 2020. Ty came back and finished Dante with a guillotine a year later. So these guys are going to mix it up one more time. I was super impressed, just like Kevin alluded to, with Dante and his performance at ADCC. He looked fantastic. The challenge with the Rotolo brothers, both of them, is that they're young, dynamic fighters, and they're picking up new skills all the time. They're constantly evolving and changing, and it's really hard to train for an athlete like that. Not that Dante is not getting better, because certainly he is, and he's a beast on his feet and playing the legs, as we saw. He's got a great game, but it's probably easier to get folks to mimic those skills than it is to get somebody to be Ty Rotolo. Unless you're gonna get his brother, it's gonna be pretty hard to get ready for him. You're gonna have to fight him in his house, where he's the big dog. I think it's a great great matchup for jiu-jitsu. And I like that one is doing jiu-jitsu matches, but they're not doing like 7 with 1 good one and 6 just whatevers. They're just doing like 1 or 2 really compelling matchups. I think it's a great idea.
I do appreciate it looks like the MO behind one's matchmaking is just here. Look at it. It's just one. That's it. That's all we're giving you. And you go, oh, those are pretty good people. I like that. Let's see how they do. And I think what's nice about them is at least now that they're getting new talent, you're not looking at some dude who was probably going down the street to buy a newspaper and they're like, you want to go get wrecked by Mikey Musumeci? Because I feel like those were hard, especially in those video packages where they're really trying to convince you this dude's got a chance against one of our current Wolverine savages. And I thought, don't like that. But this is great. Maybe this is what we've been building to, but nonetheless, I would say they've been opening up their talent pool, and this is a nice reflection of that. So props to them. Gentlemen, let's forge on to our next topic, which is, you wouldn't assume this, given his penchant, one might say, for nonsense, but it does look like Craig Jones may not be the dummy everybody figures him out to be. Craig Jones right now may actually be coming up with a patent, meaning he will have the key rights as an inventor, if you would, or at least, inventor, for the pit. Tim, what are the details of this patent that he is getting in place, and what can we expect to see from it?
Well, the details, as far as I know, and I'm a moron, are that Craig is acquiring the patent from Karate Combat. So I'm assuming that Karate Combat's still going to have rights to use the angled wall, and the patent is for a sports surface with walls at a 15-degree angle or more, which seems kind of broad to me, because there's like, what about these X Games dudes? Those ramps and all that stuff are like, they violate the 15-degree angle rule. Maybe it has to be like a wall all the way around. I don't know. It's an interesting move. Maybe he's concerned that organizations are going to try to copycat his product. We saw that they had a pretty close eye on their content at CJI, the original. They didn't want anything going out, and they were pretty aggressively pursuing that. It's probably more of the same in this. They're looking to protect their assets and whatever they can get. But we know the real patent acquisition in jiu-jitsu, if you really want to be a baller and you want to play, then you got to get your hands on the patent for the IBJJF gi checker tool that doubles as a backstrap. That's where the money is. We know that, Craig. You gotta get your game together, man.
Thank you for that. Great insight there, Tim. But Kevin, I guess this begs the question: are there other patents in jiu-jitsu we should be looking at? Because the only thing about this is they just say it's a wall with a 15-degree angle, to which I say, on paper, that just makes us sound stupid. But are there some other opportunities we are bypassing here in jiu-jitsu?
Can we flip them around? Like, can they, instead of being a pit that keeps you in the pit while you fight, can we like flip them so it's a ramp and then they just like accelerate you into the couches at the PGF? Like, let's stop playing around and pretend like those couches are like, oh yeah, oh man, dang, we just didn't have room. It's so unfortunate that we created this viral clip when Andy Varela tackled PJ into the, it's so unfortunate it happened again the next season. Dang. Let's just cut out the middleman and build slip and slides where if you push them, they just go shoo straight onto the couch. Put maybe a small animal there that we have to rescue at the last second, really create some drama. Like, what's the extent of this patent and how much can we abuse it?
Thank you. I'm glad that you have thought about this, and you're seeing me apparently reapplying a fucking earring there. There we go. I'm back. All right. As my earpiece falls out and the camera freezes, that's when you know we're under duress. Thank you, and I appreciate Tim you sending me a note. Gentlemen, I am excited to talk about this, but I'll tell you this. I'm happy to see that if Craig is going to inherit the patent, I think it allows maybe for some licensing to happen. But I don't know about you guys, but I'm seeing more and more people build pit walls in their gym. I think it's gotten better. I'm still worried about the codes and standards. I feel like we should have somebody go inspect those things. It's just me. But I do love one thing, which is being able to roll in jiu-jitsu and not have my neck collapsed. So let's just say that for the sake of everybody, let's try and build those appropriately. We move on to our next topic, which is demoted. Kevin, this is not you, is it? This is a Tim one, right?
This is a Tim one.
Okay.
I read it, but this is a Tim one.
I'm sure you did. Tim, when I read the prompt here, I'm going to start the time here in a second, but I need to know, what is my motivation for the host introducing the topic here? Because the way it's written, it's almost like we're getting into Black Lives Matter here, and I just want to make sure that we're not getting canceled. So what exactly is the MO that you are giving me for this topic, sir?
Well, y'all mentioned demotion earlier. Kevin actually has threatened his students with demotion based on, tapping to position. Or
Just stripes. Let's not get crazy. Don't get the moms after me.
Cutting a stripe off is a demotion. And by the way,
Okay.
I was privy. It was my kids' class. This salty Marine, just OG black belt came in, and we had this custom. We'd all, kids got to go shake the black belt's hand when he comes on the mat, and they all went to go shake hands. And this one kid I had named Pedro, real sweet kid, goes, "I'll get you later." And he just kind of like gives him the hand wave off. Black belt goes to his bag, pulls out a knife, goes, "Pedro, come over here." Pedro comes over there, says, "Hold your belt up." Pedro thinks like, "Oh, I'm going to get a stripe right now because I just punked the big dog." He takes his knife, and as dramatic as he can, he slashes this kid's stripes off of his belt, crumbles them up, puts them in the garbage, and says, "Next time I come on the mat, you'll shake my hand." And the kids are like, "Ooh, Pedro.
Oh my God.
You shake his hand, shake his hand." Yeah. Anyway, Raph is stunned. He refroze. Demotions happen. This guy got demoted. This story is that this dude was a veteran. He was off in the military, not training. He was a purple belt. And then he did some military stuff, picked up some injuries, decided to get back into jiu-jitsu several years later, signed up at another gym. And the professor at the new gym was like, "Bro, you're not a purple belt. What belt are you?" And he's like, "No, I'm a purple belt." So the professor called his old professor and said, "Yo, what's up with this guy?" And he's like, "Yeah, he's a purple belt. He's just been off for a long time. He's picked up some serious injuries, and he sent him the certificate that he gave him." And the new school's like, "Nah, dog, take that belt off. We're demoting you to blue belt." And so, I mean, that sucks, but does it really matter?
I want to reiterate here. My question for you was, how do you want me to introduce this topic? You went off on a story that may or may
Sir,
not
this is a
implicate
Wendy's.
you in your gym. And that the gross concern I have on my face, which is, why are you testifying against yourself, sir? Because you're like, "Oh, by the way, he got a knife out for this kid." And I would think to myself, that's where we stop the story. And you go, no, it's fine. He just violently took off a stripe. To which,
Three of them.
not only are you making fun of the fact that you're like, "Well, Kevin takes stripes off." And I was like, right, but Kevin doesn't take them Crocodile Dundee style and go, "That's not a knife. He has a knife.
He
has
holds the knife
stripes
at the kid and he goes, "You take your stripes off."
These stripes are rubbish.
So I just want to ask again, how would you like me to introduce this topic, Tim?
Basically, like I'm thinking that the couching is like this. This is not a international jiu-jitsu topic with a famous athlete or a promotion. This is just some like local community jiu-jitsu stuff that happens in that got demoted. So like, hey, let's talk about it on the show. Let's see what these guys think about it.
All right. I want you to just see how I do this. I'm putting time on, and I want you to see how quickly I get to the question. Okay?
Okay.
Topic coming up next. Do belts matter? Well, a lot of us have heard horror stories for different gyms where people can do crazy things to take away stripes. Here, we're just wondering, does it matter? Does it matter if you're ranked, or do you pull a Kevin and take away stripes unnecessarily? I'll start with you, Tim. Do you have any stories about crazy things happening at your gym when it comes to promotions?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, Ralph. I actually do.
Let me tell you about this kid, Pedro.
The best part is there's also the part of me that realizes you didn't talk to Legal here at Bullpen, and Legal would have been like, his name's not Pedro in this story, it's Juan. So there's that. I will ask you this in fear you might. Kevin, do you have a story that tops that when it comes to demotions?
Tops it? Pulling a knife on a child? I don't have one that tops that.
He wasn't brandishing the knife. He wasn't threatening with it. He just.
I'm sure he was.
You also
just
did not make
hilarious
that
to
clear.
say he was.
I want to be very, very clear where I stand. You did not let us know things were going to be okay. When it sounded like this dude got disrespected, he was like, okay.
Bro.
You know what he turned into? Have you ever seen the movie House Party 3? Where Bernie Mac's fighting with the mom, and he says one big insult about her, and she goes, "Ooh!" Oh no, it's reversed. He goes, "Nah, I gotta cut you." That's exactly what it sounded like to me. It's like, "Ooh, cut you," and they basically go around each other and start to see. This is how Mexican I am. I'm like, oh, I don't have a knife, but I'll make this a knife real quick.
I got one close though.
Okay, you know what? We're gonna move on. We can revisit this at a later date. The only thing I had in my head as an image before you talked about the knife and slicing off is that when you're like, what are we talking about here? You couldn't just possibly demote somebody. And Kevin just goes, they're stripes. So in Kevin's version, it's kind of like Candyland when you just like swipe all the way down. You go, you just cut off the things. You go, nope, you lost your stripes. That's all. It's not like you game over die. You just lost your progress. No control.
You want me to? I need to defend my character. It's really not going to defend my character. Let me clarify my character.
Okay.
Character clarification point.
All right. So I give and take stripes left and right. And I don't do it because they matter. I do it because they matter to the students. I don't give a shit about stripes. I once gave Baby Goose 8 stripes in one day. In about 3-minute video, I striped him up 8 times, then looked him in the face and said, "Don't you take those off." I put 8 stripes on his blue belt. I'll take stripes. I've given someone a stripe before for a t-shirt. I've given someone a stripe for bringing me coffee. One of my coaches has given someone 3 stripes for making a bunch of memes that were hilarious. When there was a little like local drama, one of the students at one of the gyms, let's keep it, we're going to play the Cups game in case somebody gets pissy. One of the students at one of the gyms made a bunch of memes, and Jucal said straight up, "Yo, whoever made these memes on social media," like, and like, so we give stripes, at least me and him. If you're, do whatever you want if you're on your own coach. Here's the thing. Stripes will never, not having stripes will never keep me from giving you a belt. Having a bazillion stripes will never make me give you a belt. You can have 4 stripes for like 9 years. I don't give a shit. If I don't want to give you a belt, I'm not giving you a belt. Conversely, there is a 1 stripe white belt. Actually, I don't think I've ever given a belt to someone who had all 4 stripes. I have a 1 stripe white belt right now that's going to get their blue belt in like their very next tournament. They don't know it yet, but they've already earned it. I've just been waiting for them to compete so that I can give it to them. That's one of my like requirements is like, you have to compete. You got to rip that Band-Aid off. And then like I've given out belts for whatever, but like, yeah, I'll give and take stripes for like no fucking reasons. And it's because they don't matter to me at all, but they very much so matter to the students. So I just use them as a bullying tactic.
That's psychological terror, Kevin.
Hell yeah.
I don't think this topic did a lot of good for this team.
Oh, I think it did a lot of good, though. Very entertaining.
Well, it established our boundaries. That's the one positive thing I'm taking from it. I think the only thing I'll say is during the pandemic, pretty sure my stripes fell off, and I didn't remember how many I have. Like, I look at my belt now, and people go, "Why don't you put them back on?" I was like, I probably lost technique. I don't know. I'm not gonna go back and look. They're like, "Aren't you 2 or 1 stripe?" I was like, I don't know. 3 sounded nice, but I can't prove that now. So, now I'm hoping to reverse Candyland my way to another belt at some point. Nonetheless, gentlemen, we have a fight to get to, and not one prompted by any promotions or demotions here. This is a fight that Tim has found. Now, listen, Tim is good at a lot of things. Finding fights, number one. Tim, what can you tell us about this fight for this week that you have selected for us?
This is a fight that takes place, it looks like it's at a Wingstop, and there is, listen, there's all the elements you want in a fight. There's some street element. There is some guard action. There's a Tomonaga. Heads get ripped out, and the victor kind of walks around with them for a while and holds them in his hand like this is.
I'm doing that with the next stripes I take.
Yeah, clean. No, they chill.
The best part of this is you had me hooked when you said this takes place at a Wingstop, because it lets you know an important detail, which is people came here with the best of intentions. Everybody loves wings. They were hoping to get some delicious wings for their party, for their occasion, and yet chaos ensues. So, Tim, you're going to take the first crack at narrating whatever we're about to see. Godspeed to us all here.
These gentlemen are employees of Wingstop, and he did not like that the buffalo sauce was not made right. And dude, grabs a handful of hair. And he pulls hard on the counter. Great use of the pit wall here. He actually sags down. He slides down on that pit wall and hangs on the dreads. This is called dread guard. He's got a little spider action with his foot. Now, his opponent trains his judo. He pulls him back over right on the floor. But Hat has lost his hat, and we figured out he's an imposter. He's a member of the Balds. So he ripped dude's dreads, and he's like, "This is my hair now. I get to take your belt, which is your hair." And he does a little victory lap. Those people are like, "Nah, I'm just trying to get a refill. Like, I'm not getting messed up in this thing." He's like, "These are your dreads, right?" He's like, "Yeah, they're mine." And he goes, "Okay." And he sits down and he waits for the wings that he ordered.
Tim,
and he's trying to go home.
Why is the end of the fight worse than the actual fight? Like, the discussion that happens afterwards is deeply concerning to me. I'm going to let you have next at bat at this one, Kevin. It was a doozy, so I will say that. I look forward to my summarization, but first we go to Kevin Sherrill.
Yeah, man, this is incredible. You can see he establishes grips early right here, the challenger from the red corner. Oh, man. And he decides to upgrade his grips straight into the dreads. Now, normally pressuring into somebody is going to get you somewhere, but stacks his feet up on his chest and starts pulling on his dreads like a Looney Tune trying to open a door. Good Lord. And then, like a Looney Tune, he goes skedaddling over the fucking desk. God, you just see legs kicking. That's amazing, right? This is where we're revealed something that is really surprising, which is you don't usually see. Now, can't quite tell, but those look like black Air Force Ones. You don't usually see that guy lose. This is an incredible upset from the Jordan community. This is hilarious. So he walks up with the dreads and he goes, "Yeah, man. Anyways, 12 count, like, went a couple minutes. Okay. All right. Appreciate it, bro. I'll be right here." Incredible.
Okay. All right. I know what I'm going to say. I know what the first joke I have is, but I need you guys to understand that when we reassess here, when we pull together our collective wisdom, we all look for different things when these fights happen. But I feel like there's a top one that's glaring that you guys didn't pick up on, and that I was waiting to see if you guys might say it. But I got to do what I got to do. Here we go. I'm concerned why Ozempic Herb Dean here is really not really enjoying the action that is happening in front of us. Now, this is a big concern for me. When someone grabs your dreadlocks, you got to move fast, and you have to move with intention. Instead, you place him on the counter where he's got a statistical advantage. And now, here's the one thing that really spoke to me. Instead of doing anything with the dread and saying, got your dreads, got your dreads. And if you've ever listened to E40, this is specifically what he's referring to when he says, those people forget to do. Nonetheless, a couple punches here. This is by far the most disrespectful thing I've ever seen to men's hair ever in life. Hold on. I need to stop here because I need to come back to Tim. Tim, don't you feel that they're just flaunting the hair in your face at this point? Because he's literally falling with clumps of hair in hand.
Yeah, 100% disrespect, but it's a fight. And sometimes you got to get the mental advantage.
Hold on. We got this comment that said, the bald dude has just shown how you can learn collar sleeve through ecological dynamics. And I have to tell you, A+ comment from the comment section here. Let me walk you through the ends of this. All right. So Ozempic, Herb Dean, not doing much here in terms of offense. And people were thinking about jiu-jitsu moves, but instead he realizes he's got some leverage. At this point, these Jordans are letting you know he is in for a good time. Now, this is the part of the fight I actually hate. They knock over all the pamphlets, and that doesn't play a role until later. But this drag over is similar to what you used to see when a cartoon character smelled a pie and would float to it. That's what happened here. There's a decent toss, and honestly, for a split second, I thought we might get some guard work here. For me, this is usually when I'll hit a Boston Crab. And then this dude wearing Crocs, like Crocs versus Jordan, is a big comparison that we've never thought of. Now, as he's sitting here, it's like literally pulling a weave and saying like, got your weave, girl. And instead, now he's flaunting with it. What more can you have to say to each other at this point? Because the customer is always right, so you still have to take the order. He points down at him. And the only thing I don't know is what he's pointing at here is, what is he pointing to? Is he saying like, sir, I still got to take your order. Like, we can fight, but I still got to get it. You got to give me your tendered cash. They look at each other and he goes, oh yeah, I'm thinking about those Parmesan. Yeah, put some Parmesan on that. I'll just wait over here. And that is the conclusion of that fight.
Yeah, he
Ladies
said,
and
yeah.
gents,
So anyways, ranch is fine.
ranch is fine. It's perfect. I have two notes here just from Tim, and then we are done for the day. Tim, you sent me, in addition to that, two comment sections.
Yeah, these are one's about Danaher, and I think the other's about Downey.
Thank you, because I didn't have the context for what this was. And again, I don't want to question your methods or what you do, but when I don't have the context sometimes, I do have questions. And maybe people will understand why. Here is the first one that you sent us, and it says, bro said, I own all the angles but straight. So
amazing. That's Craig.
Yeah,
what is this in reference to, Tim?
To the patent for the 15-degree angled pit walls that Craig got. So I guess Craig's saying, I own all angles but straight. Well played.
There we go. Okay. Again, when I saw that on top of your stakes to the face, I thought I should just ask rather than assume anything here. And here's the last gallery comment that we have here for the week. Tim, what am I looking at on this one?
This is in regard to Danaher. You put off the surgeries for so long. Why did you ignore 50% of your body?
Why are we ending the show on this note? What is wrong with our people?
Because we can.
Because we can. All right, friends, let's plug where people can see us and find us. Tim, I'll start with you.
You can catch me on Inside BJJ. We just had Kevin Crane on, so check that out. Pretty interesting conversation. Social media platforms, all that stuff. If you're out in Nashville, come see us at 10th Planet Nashville. And if you're out in the 209, go see my fam out there, 10th Planet Stockton. Great to be here today, guys.
Good to see you, Tim. Appreciate you. Kevin, where can the people find you, sir?
Yeah, find me at Kevin Grapples on Instagram, or come train with me at American Top Team Lima or Superfly Jiu-Jitsu in Atlanta.
All right, gents, I appreciate you. Great work here. Everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. I do see that I am frozen again. This has been a fun explanation and excursion to make, but you'll see me pop back up in 3, 2, bam. All right. Let me go ahead and close this bitch up. Thank you guys so much for watching this week's installment of The Bullpen. Go support us. Find us at The Bullpen on Instagram. We'll have more content coming up there very soon. We hope that you have a very nice Valentine's Day. And the best way you can show some love to us here, patreon.com/grappling hour, patreon.com/InsideBJJ. You can support me, you can support Tim, or Wild Thought, both of us. You can also like, comment, and subscribe to any of these places that you find us. But ladies and gents, that's going to do it for us here. We appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for watching this week's episode of The Bullpen. We'll be back next Friday. But until then, it's been a great day for grappling. We'll see you back on the mats.